Hello guys, so we are in tram stop, Catcher Vintage Talking Tram here. So we are here in the Central Deborah Gold Mine. Dito sa Bendigo. So you can see we have a day tour here guys around 10 a.m. exact. So ayan guys. So during the years when Bendigo Tramway was a provider of public transport, its tram track network offered a much more extensive service. The current track is 4.1 km from end to end. However, in its heyday, there was total 39 extending 4 direction for sharing cross city center from Stop Alexandra Foundation. So, nandito tayo ngayon guys sa depot. So, kita nyo, another train again. So, is this railway not a steamway?
No, this is like a tram, like the same ones in Melbourne. It's like electric above, it's like electric line.
Yeah, it's like Hong Kong guys again. So, but this is like a single one. It's not a two-stowaway. So, you can see the trams. I think this is the driver's seat guys. For the sir. Welcome to the Central Deborah Gold Mine. Is situated in Bendigo, a city located in central Victoria, approximately 150 kilometers northwest of Melbourne. Visitors can typically find a gift shop at the Central Deborah Gold Mine, offering souvenirs, books, and gifts related to gold mining and Bendigo's history.
Yeah, I'm close.
You want shoes
Yeah.
or no phone or sandals?
No, I didn't think mines would, yeah. You think it'd be safe to wear that.
Yeah, definitely would not recommend.
Yeah. Not really, just catch it here, I'll take it. Stuff.
You guys can make your tour guide at about 10, 5 to 10.
Yeah.
So if you just follow the instructions, go to the right, and look arrows to the door that says Orange. At that door at 5 to 10. Now, there are no toilets underground, so make sure you go once you're already out. And you want to have one around. Just make sure you're at the door 5 to 10. We can't accept late people underground. You guys have any questions about the mine tour? Enjoy. Have fun.
After we purchase our ticket, we are now at the souvenir shop of the Central Deborah Gold Mine in Bendigo. The tour takes 75 minutes and you will tour a depth of 61 meters underground to level 2. You can see some exhibit also along the way at the souvenir shop.
That design there.
There's a big poster.
That really was the best.
Did they have bracelets?
Like a brick tram, whatever, like a tram.
The total cost for an underground tour for adult is $35. The concession is $30 AUD. The child 3 to 15 years old is $20 per head. The family for 2 adults and up to 3 children is $99. The underground tour time between daily is 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. When it comes in history, the mine was established in the late 19th century during the Victorian Gold Rush, which was one of the world's largest gold rushes. Gold was discovered in the Bendigo area in the 1850s, leading to a significant influx of miners and settlers to the region. The Central Deborah gold mine was one of the richest and most productive mines in the Bendigo gold fields. It operated continuously for several decades, extracting gold from underground shafts and tunnels. The mine offers various guided tours, including underground mine tours led by experienced guides who provide insights into the history of the mine, the working condition of the miners, and the techniques used to extract gold. Today, the Central Deborah Gold Mine is operated as a tourist attraction and heritage site. Visitors have the opportunity to take guided underground tours of the mine, exploring the tunnels, shafts, and equipment used during the gold rush era.
So I can do if you want. Sit down your wrist. Is that okay? Me too. Oh. Stick the tray on as well. I can't lose it. Fashion bangles. So I just fold it under the back. Thank you.
Ayan, nakita niyo, runway. I think this is like their,
No, there's a few other things I need to add in. Number one, grab a helmet with the light on it. Red button on top of the light. Press the button 3 times before you start fitting the helmet to your head, and then leave it alone the whole way through on the tour. On that setting, it's a low beam, you won't be blinding everyone on the way through the tour. You'll also be able to see where you're going. That's what I'm talking about today. If you want to use a head out, there are no trucks just around the corner here. They're not compulsory, so you want to want to. You don't have to if you don't want to. All the adults, I want you all to try a white helmet on first, even if you think you've got time to do it. Really small kids, they can grab the blue helmet straight away. Okay? Now, all the helmets have the dial at the back, which the video told you. You can see they go pretty small. If you've got a white helmet, you've tried it on, you've done it all the way up on the dial, and it's still loose on your head, come and see me. I'll be on the other side. I'll have a look at it. There's a few tricks to it. See if I can get any tighter. If not, I'll grab the white one off you and hand you a blue one to use. All the helmets have to be disinfected between every use because of COVID. Please do not put a helmet that you've tried on, even if it's for a second, back up a little. Just come and give it to me and I'll deal with it. Does that make sense? Cool. If we get anyone underground who takes a helmet off on purpose, I have to stop the tour, single the person out and tell them to put the helmet back on straight away. If they do put the helmet back on, we'll continue on the tour, but if we tell you that person it's their first time on the warning. The same person takes it off again later in the tour after I've given the warning, I'll do the same thing. I'll be as nice and polite about it as I can, but I'll also be telling that person they're getting kicked off the tour. There is no valid reason for you to take your hard hat off underground on this tour today. Australian Victorian law, the laws are there for your safety. You can't keep the helmet on the whole way through the tour, you can't be underground safely, it becomes my job to get you to safety. You get kicked off this tour for that reason, you are not going to get a refund on the ticket. If it's a small child who has to come out for safety reasons, a parent or guardian will have to come out with them, they won't be getting a refund either. I'm telling you all this now, just so that there's no confusion. Does everyone understand that? Great. Come around the corner. Grab yourself a huddle. Enjoy, grab on the light. 10, 11, all good now? 12, great. 13, 14, 15, 16, 18.
Via an industrial lift, this tour is wheelchair accessible.
You all ready to go? It all sound really exciting. 3, 2, 1. So way through on the tour, if you've got any mining questions, if you hold off until the end of each stop underground, I'll give you a chance to ask questions at the end of each stop. If you do that, it'll make the tour run a lot more smoothly for everyone. If you've got an emergency, you're feeling ill, insert, like the video said, raise your hand straight away. I'll get to you as soon as I see your hand. Just keep in mind, I've got a lot of lights in my eyes, so if I don't see you, yell out if you can. If you ask me a mining question while doing that, I'm going to make you wait until the end of the stop anyway. Okay? So, if you have any answer questions, just keep it to the end of the stop. Cool. Great. Once you're all through, I'll go back, close the doors on the lift, and I'll meet you all at your truck. Okay, sorry mate, I'm going to stand right in the middle here. I want you all to come in, find a spot into the rock wall opposite to me, facing towards you, please. Alright, if you want to stay on this side of that ore truck, that's fine. You don't have to be on the rock wall back there. It's fine if you want to. Just try to get everyone in a spot where you can see. Okay, welcome underground. You're now standing 61 metres straight down from where you were before. At the moment, you're standing on what we call a flat. Flat is a Cornish term, it means open space. We need a bit more space in this area so we can load and unload things coming down the shaft behind me. The shaft here was the only way in or out of this mine when it was working the old mine. Remember the two cages I pointed out at the top? They operated in the two middle compartments called the haulage compartments or working compartments. So one cage goes up in one, the other one goes down in the other. So they can bring things underground while taking things out at the same time. Efficiency means money. The whole shaft in there is lined with timber. Timber's red gum, loves the wet conditions, so to keep it wet and damp, it doesn't rot down at the grate. Timber in there was put in there in 1941, it's still fine. Red button in the middle there. If you press it, it rings a bell. On every level of the mine and up on the surface. Bells are how they communicated. It's sort of like Morse code for mining. Every level has its own code. Every command has its own code. We still use the bells to this day because we still use the cages to this day. Anytime someone like me who also works here on maintenance as well as taking tours, if I'm going below level 3 in this mine, I go down in the cage. And I use the bells to communicate with the driver up on the surface, tell him where I want to go, where I want to stop, where I want to come back up, all that sort of stuff. If you want to go below level 3 in this mine but you don't want to go in a cage, you've got one option, the manway. Has everyone seen a ladder before? It's got ladders all the way from the surface to level 17 in the old days. Now, if you had to climb out from 17 level after an 8-hour shift in the old days because the winder's broken down, a fit miner from 410 metres is looking at 2.5 to 3 hours climb. Not fun. It's always good to have a way out. It's an emergency exit still to this day. Big pipe coming out the top up here brings compressed air underground. It runs all of our equipment and machinery. The small pipe above it coming out brings fresh water underground, mainly used for our machine drills. I'll show you some of that stuff later in the tour. Last compartment is the one on my right hand side over here. This one's called the smoke box. It looks like a big chimney. Let's get the bad air out and good air down here. If we were going to blow some rock apart with explosives on this level, it would create smoke and fumes that we don't want trapped underground. Before we blew anything apart, we come back to the plat and we take all the boards out from the front of the smoke box. Normally that would be fully sealed in here. We then go back, rig up our explosives, blow our rock apart, all the smoke and the fumes will slowly get sucked back to this point, into and up out of the mine in the smoke box. While that's happening, fresh air is drawn down the other three to replace it through natural convection. So it was a way of getting the good air down here and the bad air around. Any questions so far?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how many people would fit in one of the boxes in
In a cage, as a rule, 4, for the record it's 9. And that's 5 inside and 4 holding onto the chain up above. Okay, on the roof. Get them down quick, get them to work, more efficiency means more money. Okay, but normally, as a rule, when we use them these days, 4 at maximum. Stand in front of a person, chest to chest, to a stride. Any other questions? All right, we better keep going then. Come down this way. We're going to have a look at the box. Questions as well? All right, go. So we got any great geology students here today? No geotechnical engineers or anything? Alright, let's start easy then. We're going to talk geology. Quartz in this mine is good, everything else is bad. Any ideas why the quartz would be good? Gold. Perfect answer. It's got the gold in it. It's the only thing with the possibility of having gold in it, and gold's the only thing this mine makes money with. So the quartz has profit for the company. Mining's all about profit. Everything else down here that you're going to see, it's not quartz. No gold, no chance of gold. It's junk and it's in our way. If you remember that on this tour, quartz good other rock bag, there's gold in the quartz, you'll be fine. If you remember that in a hard rock quartz mine like this, you'll be fine. I'm paid to give you a bit more technical detail than that. Sorry, I'm going to do it. Here we go. Have a look around you. What you're looking at is the mullock. In mining, we call it mullock, it's just a technical term for the waste rock. Really what you're looking at here in the mullock is mostly going to be sandstone. You might see some slates as well. Sandstone is going to cover 90% of the mullock you're going to see down here today. Around here it's 8 times harder than concrete. You also might see some slate. There's a lot of slate around here there, sir. Often you can just break bits out with your fingers and hands and snap them off. So big difference in strength between the two. Slate's going to probably cover 5 to 6% of waste rock you're going to see. Both of them are sedimentary rocks, and what that means is they're formed at the bottom of an ocean. These ones are formed between 480 to 500 million years ago. Formed from the sand, the sediment, the dirt, getting washed off the landmass at the time into the ocean. Everything settles to the ocean floor and is cemented in place in different layers over millions of years worth of pressure pushing down it. They date the rock to that time period because of the fossils they find in it. Now if we jump forward a bit to about 440 million years ago, lots of pressure coming in from the east and the west, all down the east coast of Australia. Has everyone here heard about the continental drift? Continental shelves, when they have continental shelves drifting and moving. When those shelves crash into each other, the rocks go up. You also get earthquakes and all that sort of stuff. But rocks have to go up, it's their only option. It's how mountains, hills, ranges are created. The Great Dividing Range runs all the way down the east coast of Australia and curls up in Victoria, finishes the Grampians pretty much. Started to be created around 440 million years ago when the shelf of New Zealand and the shelf of South America crashed into the shelf of Australia and the rocks went up. Same thing happening in Bendigo, because Bendigo is part of the Great Dividing Range. Pressure coming in from the east and the west, also sandstone and slate that was originally fallen flat, start rising up, buckling and folding up into what we call a saddle formation. Sandstone and slate has different strengths, so it bends, buckles and breaks at different rates of force. As it's buckling up into that saddle shape, the rock's broke right in the centre, but more importantly for what we're talking about here today, gaps and cracks occur between the two different types, the two different layers of sedimentary rock in our saddle shape, one on top of the other, all the way down. One final jump between 440 and 350 million years ago. Superheated solutions of silica are forced from deep within the earth up through the gaps and the cracks and fills them all up. Super hot, under immense amounts of pressure. So hot that it melts minerals down, brings minerals up with a liquefied from deep within the earth. Brings up gold, fool's gold, copper, sulphur, arsenic, silver. Eventually that hot solution of silica will cool down, it will solidify within the gaps and the cracks, and it turns into a quartz reef. All quartz reefs around the world are formed the same way. The method that I just tried to explain to you there. Doesn't matter if you're in America and you want to call it a quartz vein. In Australia, it's quartz reef. They're the same thing. All of Australia's gold has come up with quartz. No exceptions. Most of the world's gold's come up with quartz as well. There are a few rare exceptions around the world. One of the rare exceptions is volcanic activity can bring the gold up to the surface. But those rare exceptions are few and far between. Most of the world's gold's come up with quartz. All of Australia's gold's come up with quartz. Where did gold start from? Was in the earth, or has it been here for the whole time? That's up for debate. Okay, I'm not going to go into theories with you today because theories are ideas. If you want to talk about theories, you can talk to Google after the tour. I'd much rather talk to you about facts than they're proven. Okay? Bendigo's a little bit special because of our reef structure. All of our quartz reefs are in that saddle shape, one on top of the other, on each line of reef. 37 lines of reef running parallel to each other. North-south in Bendigo, 300 metres on average in between each line of reef. They slowly rise and they fall. Along the 15 k's is the most productive part of the Bendigo goldfield. This mine mines on the Deborah line of reef. That's where the name for the mine comes from. But every single line of reef in Bendigo, all 37 of them, have a saddle reef, on top of 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 a saddle reef, all the way down to more than 5 k's deep, I say. They might go deeper, but they haven't tested that far. 25 to 30 metres of waste dropping between each saddle reef on the way down to the line of reef. That's why every level of this mine is 25 to 30 metres apart. Every level is ideally testing a different reef to see how much gold is in it so we can make a profit off it. They needed 10 grams of gold per tonne of quartz to make any dollars off it in the 1950s. Anything below that they leave alone. Anything above that they'll mine out, make profit, make money for the company. 1 in 4 of those saddle reefs on the way down on the line, on average, in Bendigo was going to be above that mark they needed. Gold mines like this in Bendigo don't run out of gold because we don't run out of reefs. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Really super rare reef structures. There's not another goldfield like Bendigo in Australia if you're talking specific reef structure. You can get saddle reefs at other goldfields in Australia and Victoria, but not predictable like they are here, one on top of the other. That's what makes Bendigo special. The other most famous goldfield for that in the world, apart from Bendigo, is in Nova Scotia in Canada. So it's one of the main reasons why Bendigo's produced more gold than any place in Australia. Bendigo's produced more gold than Kalgoorlie. Not many people realise how much gold Bendigo is still producing to this day. Anyone heard about the Fosterville gold mine? It's 15 minutes drive away from here. It's the most productive gold mine in the whole of Australia. It's produced 3.5 million troy ounces of gold by itself. Okay? So Bendigo is still producing big amounts of gold to this day. Bendigo is the richest goldfield in Australia, and mainly because of our reef structure, because the reefs are easy to find. We don't run out of reefs, we don't run out of gold. A mine like this in other goldfields, like Ballarat for example, not the reef structure that we've got here, so they will run out of gold because they run out of reefs. There you go, there's the technical stuff. Just remember, quartz good, other rock bad. Any questions? No? Oh, yep, up the back.
Do they think any of the reefs here join with Ballarat?
No. Most of Ballarat's gold mining is deep leading, which is digging an underground creek or stream that was buried by volcanic activity or years and years of sediment. Different kind of gold field down there. They've got fault reefs, which are formed the same way, but in random gaps and cracks, if that makes sense. Most of their reefs go from below, going straight up. Our ones, in that saddle shape. So Ballarat goldfield's totally different from Bendigo. Different goldfield, different reef structure. Yeah, totally different. I could go into the Ballarat goldfield for you if you wanted to, but it'd take up a lot of our time. And we're not in Ballarat. You've come to Bendigo. So this is the kind of mining that made Bendigo famous, hard rock quartz mining, which we're going to be talking about today. There's a little bit of this in Ballarat, but not much. Most of Ballarat's gold was found with deep leading. And a lot of alluvial rush. Yeah, a big alluvial rush down in Ballarat, which Bendigo had as well. But all of that gold starts in quartz reefs at some stage. So, yeah, different gold field in Ballarat, but I'll leave it there. Okay? I do know it all. Ballarat, I grew up in Ballarat, but they're not paying me to tell you about Ballarat. So, any other quick questions? It really does depend on where you are in the structure. Remember how I talked about how the rocks broke? If you're in setting, on maintenance, if you're going to deep up there, there's no risk of gas there. Ballarat, different again. Yeah, deep leading, vegetation when it was buried, rocks down, forms gas. So different kind of mines have different dangers, different strength of rock, even different kind of gold mines have different dangers and different strength. This mine, because our rock's real hard, no gas, much safer than some of the other ones. We're going to talk dangerous mining, talk about coal mining. Okay? You better keep going. Come down this way. Anytime, have a seat. So next stop, should be enough room for you all to get in line in there, having a seat on the benches. This area's called a crib room. Crib's another Cornish term, means like lunch. So you came for a lunch break, you worked an 8-hour shift underground with a half-hour paid lunch break. You had to stay underground for the whole 8 hours of your workday. Main reason for that was security. Every time you go into this mine, there's a chance you might try and steal gold from this mine. They want to minimise that risk as much as possible. Strip search you after every shift, watch you with a shower, go through your clothes, do a body search on you. This mine, we're going to jail for 6 months to 2 years. No exception from jail. But then you lose your job on the spot, and when you get out of jail, you're never going to get another job in mining in Victoria again, and sometimes even interstate, you're only blacklisted. So there are harsh punishments for miners who try to get involved in that point. This mine pays you really well to work here as a professional contract miner. All the miners who worked here, doing the jobs that I'll tell you about today, had at least 5 years mining experience. Most of them had more than that. Most of the miners were in their 30s, and they always worked in a crew of 2 miners. The crew was paid 4 miners. They got paid either by the distance they went through the waste rock in 2 weeks, but their big money was made at the quartz reef. If they're extracting quartz from the mine, they're paid by tonnage, how many tonnes they do. Good contract miner in this mine, on average, earning 22 to 24 pounds a week in 1952. If you convert that to Australian dollars value these days, you're looking at $3,500 to $4,000 a week, around 200,000 a year, which is pretty comparable to a professional fly-in, fly-out airline miner in Western Australia right here. So the miners who worked here, they were paid for their expertise. Employee experts means less debt, less accidents, because less mistakes are made. Paying you really well discourages from stealing gold, and paying you as to how much work you get done. The miners want to get more work done because they want to take home more money at the end of the fortnight, but also the more quartz comes out of here, the more gold comes out of here, the more profit for the company. So it works for both parties. That should give you an idea about how much you'd be earning with this mine as a contract miner doing the jobs that I'll tell you about today in 1952. You always need a light source underground, folks. In this mine, you'll be using one of these. This is a carbide lamp or a gas lamp. Now, this compartment here will be filled up with fresh water. It's ready to go, so that one's pretty easy. This one, unscrew the canister and fill it up with calcium carbide. Mix of limestone and coking coal, swim through a chemical process. It's a man-made substance. There's a tiny little hole just below my finger there. I'm going to put this one in the other one. Water will drip through the hole, mix with the calcium carbide, a chemical reaction forms acetylene gas. The gas comes up and out the end of the spout, we spark up and match and line it up. It'll burn 15 times brighter than a candle, so it's a good light source. Tells you about air quality, flame needs oxygen to burn where the oxygen to breathe. Really handy to light fuses all the explosives at the end of a shift. If you're a professional contract miner working here in the 1930s, 40s or 50s, you would be blowing rock apart with explosives every single day that you're at work if you wanted to get paid. If you don't get the blast done, you're not moving forward and you've got nothing to remove. You can only blast in the last half hour of a working shift. That was a set rule. I'll talk to you about blasting, explosives, all that stuff later on in the tour. Alright, so stay still because some of you are on the high beam. Alright, not sure about you, mate. You might be on the low, you were on the good one. But I reckon you are definitely on the high beam. You've been blinding me all the way through so far. Still see the dot. Alright, any questions? No?
No.
Alright, well, we better keep going. I've still got lots to show you. Room on the right hand side, picking up parts. You want a birthday party on the ground? Everybody's around us when you up to it. We're not having a birthday party, you're not getting married today, so we're going to keep going. If you want information about that room, we're hiring you out, talk to the booklet tester. Come in this way.
It's a nice bird.
Right, I'm stopped here to talk about rock support, folks. Have a look above you and around you and there's some timbering. This stuff here is pretty typical of what the miners used to put up in the old days for a bit of extra safety. And most people look at this and they think it's there to hold the rock up, but it's not. It's there as an early warning system. If the rock starts to move and puts pressure on the timbering, all of it's going to start to stress and it will start to creak and to groan and to make a lot of noise. And if we heard that as miners, we'd run to the exit. We'd get out as quick as we could. It means that it's going to collapse. And if you're underneath all this timber and who knows how much rock above it coming down, I think you're all smart enough to figure out what might happen to you. So it was an early warning system. It was not used to hold the rock up indefinitely. Any timbering that you see in a mine, an old school mine, is there for an early warning, not to hold the rock up. That includes deep bleeding, skulls, all of that sort of stuff. Okay. These days we keep this mine safe differently. We use modern rock support, like this one here. You'll see the square things on the walls and on the roof with the mesh too. The mesh stops any small rocks from coming through and catches them. But really what's holding the rock in place are our split sets, like this one here. Now, each one of these holding in 5 to 7 tonnes of rock in place for us. A much better way of doing it. It's actually holding the rock in. It's not just going to give us an early warning. It's not going to give us any warning, but personally, I'd rather hold the rock in place. Now, the round bit in the middle of the square is a split set pin. That's about 6 foot deep into the rock. It's made of spring steel, big split down one side of it, hence the name split set. All along that 6 foot of length, that pin is trying to spring back out to its normal shape. That tightens all the rock up and holds the rock in place. Looks like an extra long dynamite for the rock, if that helps anyone understand how it works. But if we didn't have these in here, you would not be taking a tour here with me today, because WorkSafe would have come through here and shut it down. You've got nothing to worry about down here. People like me who are on maintenance, you're just lucky, I guess, to have me on the tours today. We come down here, we make this mine safe. So we take loose rocks out. There might be a risk of falling at some stage, like those ones on the floor, because I didn't clean up after myself last week, because they want me to take tours, which is good. And if we find a big area that might need rock support, either go up and get a combo air leg and punch one of those in 5.5 minutes, or if we don't have time, let's say it's school holidays and they want me to take tours, we'll organise contractors like me and Carla to come in and do it. So you're all nice and safe down here today. There's nothing to worry about. But did any of you ask if it was safe before you came in today? No? Don't worry, hardly anyone does. Might be a thing that you want to do though, because there's been a lot of underground tours that have been shut down by WorkSafe in the last 5 to 10 years, because they're taking people like you into unsupported heritage workings with no modern rock support. And they don't check the rock, and they don't know when it's going to fall in and kill 30 people. But it's okay. You're already down here now, so it doesn't matter if you're safe or not, does it? You are nice and safe, okay? We go through and make sure it's safe. Any questions about rock support? Yes, hand up back there. Yep.
I should have asked this before.
Yeah, that's okay.
What was the shiny stuff on the wall back there?
That's either going to be one of two things. And I think what you would have been looking at back there would be magnesium sulfate crystals. They just grow down here. That's what they make Epsom salts from. Don't eat them, okay? They're not very good for you. The other thing that you're going to see that's going to be sparkling is fool's gold or pyrites. And neither of them are worth anything, okay? Gold is what's worth money down here, and gold does not reflect the light. So anything that sparkles, don't worry too much about it, okay? It's not worth much money. I'll show you some gold and a quartz reef at the next stop, okay? And we'll also see some fool's gold in there that you'll see pretty easily as well. Good question, little miner. Any other questions? Yep.
How do you know where to put the rock supports? Is it really just where it's been breaking off?
Look, we're all trained to, it takes a little bit of practice to be able to do this stuff. You look for breaks in the rock. But really what we do is we have a steel bar called a scaling bar or a pinch bar. They can be up to 2 metres long with lightweight sort of steel. And we hit the rock and the sound it gives back to us.
Oh, okay.
So if I get a dull thud or an echo, drummy sound as we call it, that means there'll be a break behind the rock. Therefore, it could be at risk of falling out. So I'd assess that, whether it's locked in place, okay, I don't have to worry about it, or whether it's loose and moving. Then I'm going to get the crimped end of my scaling bar, stand right away from it and use the leverage with the bar to get it to fall over there while I'm over here. So it's not going to fall on me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's how we actually test the rock. We go through here once a week. One of us guys on maintenance goes through this level once a week and tests for all that stuff. And yeah, so we've got nothing to worry about. But that's how we pick where we need to put these.
Yeah.
If it's a small bit, we'll just use leverage and get it out like that stuff there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how we test. We ready to keep going?
Yeah.
We're going to go and have a look at some quartz and some gold. We're going to go this way. You're going to walk through centre country next. Centre country is where the rocks broke with the buckling and folding, so it's the most likely place to fall in on you. Don't worry, there's lots of rock support. What's going to happen today? Come around the corner, look above your head, you'll see all the split sets of the mesh. Wherever you see lots of these, it's bad ground, loose rock. On the right hand side, this is what a split set pin looks like before it goes in, if you want to have a quick look. way, folks. Left-hand turn. Shouldn't have any issues finding gold in this reef. There are labels to help you in 2 of the 3 windows, but if you're at the back window, you're going to have to look for it yourself in the quartz. So there is a lot of gold in that back window. So keep shuffling around a bit, folks. Keep moving up a little bit. There's some people at the back of the group who can't see the window yet. I want everyone to be able to see the window. I want everyone to see some gold on it. What you're looking at here, folks, is a small section of a saddle reef. This is only a tiny bit of a reef here. Saddle reefs start thin on the legs at the sides, and as they curl up and over into that edge and final fold, they tend to get bigger and bigger and bigger and thicker and thicker and thicker. The peak of the reef is called the cap of the reef. You're looking at the cap of a saddle reef right now behind these windows. Below the cap in centre country is normally the biggest, thickest area of quartz on a saddle reef. Those areas can get up to 15 metre wide by 15 metre high bodies of quartz. There's a lot of quartz beneath your feet in relation to this reef that you can't see right now, but it's there. This reef doesn't just stop here, it keeps going, rising and falling along the 15 k's, the most productive part of the Bendigo goldfield. You were standing above this reef when we were talking geology before. It's risen up as we've headed south. Now looking at that reef there, I have no doubt that you'll find some gold in there. Like we said, there are some little signs there to help you in the front 2 windows. If you look for it in the quartz in that back window, you shouldn't have any issues. There's lots of gold in there. There's at least $20,000 worth of gold spread through those 3 windows, at least. But don't just think about what's the gold on the face here. Think about what's further in. Think about what's further down into the main body, even down into the legs of your saddle reef. If we've got this much grams of gold per tonne here, we're going to have a similar amount moving forward, down into the main body and into the legs as well. It doesn't go from this to nothing. This is well above 10 grams of gold per tonne. I can tell you that from just the visible gold on the face here. The reason it's still here is because they never found it. They stopped 10 metres short of it in 1944, found a rich reef lower in the mine on level 9. All the focus of this company went onto that reef on level 9. They made a lot of money out of it, which was great, but this level was then abandoned. If they had to work for another 5 more days on this level, they would have cut into the cap here, and the company would have been pretty happy. So they would have worked this. They would have mined it out. There's just too much visible gold on this to not be payable. Okay? You also might see some other stuff in those windows. Look at the quartz. You'll see colour in the quartz. Yellows, greys, reds, browns. Colour in your quartz is a great indicator. Indicates to a miner there should be gold in there. The more colour, the more mineralisation, more chance of gold. Pure white quartz we call graveyard or tombstone. Only good thing you do with it is decorate a grave and make a tombstone out of it. Not going to have much gold in there, so don't go home and start crushing up the garden quartz. It's not worth your time. You also might see some stuff in those windows marked as iron pyrites. Most of you probably know that as fool's gold. All pyrites is cubic in structure, shaped like a square cube, and it's crystallised, so it reflects the light. Fool's gold is a great indicator as well. If you've got a lot of fool's gold in your reef, it should have a lot of gold in there as well. This reef has a lot of both, so it sticks to the program. This mine operated between 1939 and December of 1954. In that 15-year time period, this mine produced 928.8 kilos of gold. If you sold that today, you'd be about 70 to 80 million bucks richer. This mine ran at a profit for 15 years, made money. This mine closed down in December of 1954, not because it ran out of gold. I've already told you mines like this don't run out of gold. And have a look in front of you. It's payable reef right there. This mine closed down because of economics. They could no longer make money from mining the gold here anymore. Most governments after the Second World War, Australian government included, shifted the price of gold to the gold standard, which meant the gold prices stuck down low, fixed in place, but the cost for running the mine went up and up and up and up and up, and it just became untenable. They couldn't make any money out of it anymore. They weren't in the business of losing money, so they shut it down and walked away. Left the buildings, equipment, machinery in place, just walked away from it. The mine was abandoned for about 15 years, came up for sale in the early 1970s. Bendigo Council realised that this was the last complete mine out of over 5,600 of these mines in a 15k by 4k area. They purchased it for $6,000 with the idea of preserving our mining history, but also with the eventual plan of turning it into the tourist mine that it is today. They first took tours in this mine with tourists like you in 1986. Those tours came to this level, looking at this reef with this gold. And here you are in 2022 looking at the same one, on the same level. We're really lucky to have this mine. It's the only one you can go in safely as a tourist or as a local in Bendigo and have a look around, see a payable reef, see some gold, know you're safe because people like me on maintenance go through here and make it safe for you to come down here. Any questions about the reef or the gold or anything you're wondering?
Are the lower levels flooded now?
Yes, definitely. The water level, the government's decided to rise it up. It's going to end up between level 4 and level 5. So yeah, everything below level 4 eventually is going to be flooded. At the moment, it's just coming up over level 10. So yeah, lower levels are flooded. The only way they're not going to be flooded in the future is if the Swan decline opens up and starts pumping their water out, because they're connected to the bottom of our mine shaft and all of our water comes from there. But when that happens, we don't know, or if it will ever happen. Swan Decline's a modern mine that was operating underneath Bendigo until 2012. So if they change the lease, they put the infrastructure in, they start it up again, they would have to drain it out, and that would in turn drain this mine out. But that's the only way it's ever going to have to be drained again. Any other questions? No?
What's that deep rumbling noise you heard it
Oh,
twice?
it's just a group in front of us.
Oh.
You'll find out later. As a general rule, if you hear a noise and you're not sure about it, look at me. If I'm not freaking out, you don't need to freak out.
I figured you weren't running, so I was-
If I run, you come with me, yeah? That's a general rule, okay? All right, no other questions about the reef or the gold? We've all come to the Hard Rock Quartz mine. Here we are in front of the gold. If you've got questions, ask me. All right, let's keep going then. Machine drills next. Round the corner, look to the left, folks. Make sure you stay with the group, please. Then folks, spiders put it over to your left in case the walls are showing drills. Perfect. Okay folks, we get a lot of people who come into this mine who try and tell me it was dug out with a pickaxe and a shovel. It was not dug out with a pickaxe and a shovel. I'm really sorry, minecrafters. All of these mines were made out with explosives from the 1850s onwards. Anyone tells you differently, they're lying to you or they don't know what they're talking about. Okay? So, early days, 1850s, they used the hammer and tap method. Sledgehammer and chisel ending up against the wall over there. Think about double the size and weight of that sledgehammer. And think about to a metre long chisel known as a tap. One man holds a chisel with two hands on the rock face, turns it a quarter of a turn between every hit from the other guy with a 12-pound sledgehammer. In candlelights, anyone here have used a 12-pound sledgehammer? Not many. Look at it.
Hard work.
It's not fun, okay? It's hard work. But imagine aiming in candlelight as well, okay? Metre deep in 4 hours with 2 men with that method. So that's what they started with in the 1850s. Up until 1865, when they start to mechanise with drills like this green one here on the right-hand side. Technical name for this one is a stroker or a reciprocator. This one in particular was made in Bendigo in 1884, 4 blocks away from here. So it's a locally built drill. It's run off compressed air. It's a 2-man operation on this one. One man on the lever back and forth. Gets it to bang, bang, smash a hole through the rock. Might be to call these hammer drills because it's bashing the hole through the rock. But we need the drill steel to turn, so it chips away at the rock. Same reason we're turning the tap by hand. So we've got another man up in front of a drill. There's a hole through the drill steel here. Put a steel bar through that hole. The other guy's up front. Quarter turn, quarter turn, quarter turn between every hit. Metre deep in 40 minutes with that one. So much, much quicker, much more efficient. Problem with it is it creates a lot of dust. And if you drill through quartz, it creates silica dust. Sandstone can have silica in it as well. Depends on what's in it when it's formed at the bottom of the ocean. Our sandstone does have silica in it. So they're creating a lot of silica dust and they're not controlling the dust. And it floats around and all the miners in the mine are breathing it into their lungs and they end up with silicosis. Now silicosis is still a death sentence to this day. If a young miner is sent off to work by his parents at 12 years old in the 1870s to work in the mines and is exposed to it consistently, he'd be lucky to live to 35 and cough himself to death. The biggest killer of miners was silicosis. It was not rock falls and collapses and accidents. And even the guys who died from those accidents, if they were working around these drills, would have died from silicosis at 35 anyway. Okay? So no one knows how many miners died from silicosis, but it was by far the biggest killer of miners. That's why most people these days would call that a widowmaker. This drill literally created widows. These drills operated from 1865 all the way into the early 20th century, and then these ones came out. This one on my left is a drifter. This one in particular was built in 1914 in Cornwall, so it's a pretty early model drifter. These have been developed in a few places around the world at that stage. But this is the kind of drill you would use in this mine when it was a working gold mine. They had 10 of these drills working in this mine per shift at one stage. Now, it's a much better drill, much more efficient drill. With this one, turn it on and off with the trigger here. When you turn it on, the drill steel turns by itself mechanically, and the miner at the back will slowly wind it in on the handle or the screw to drill your hole. So it's not a hammer drill, it's not bashing that hole through the rock. It's got a connection on the left here for compressed air, which runs the machine. And it's also got a connection on the right here for fresh water. Remember, bring the air and the water down the pipes from the surface. Run the water through the drill, through the hollow drill steel into the hole we're drilling as we're drilling it. Makes the drill work quicker, 1.5 meters deep in 10 minutes with this one. So much more efficient. Nice side effect for the miners with that water going into the hole. It mixes up with the dust as it's created. Controls it on the ground in a slurry. Therefore, it's not floating around, we're not breathing it in. We're not going to get silicosis with this machine if we use it properly. Best way I can show you how this works is to turn it on. It is going to be noisy. The video that you watched at the start of the tour doesn't really do it justice. It's going to be over 100 decibels. So, little miners, kids, I want to see you all with your own fingers in your ears. Not your parents' fingers in your ears, covering your ears. Because the parents might want to block their ears too, adults. Most adults would normally block their ears on this one, but we do get a few adults who want to take videos of this machine operating. If you want to do that, that's fine. I'm not going to tell you off, but don't complain to me about your sore ears if you decided to make that choice. Okay? Are we all ready? All right, make your choices. Here we go.
Okay.
Pretty noisy, yeah? If that was brand new, running a proper compression and drilling rock, it would be noisier than what you just said. And you might be next to 5, 6 of these in a row on a big stope. Look at that big area of quartz, 15 metres wide by 15 metres high. Imagine 5 crews all blasting out 1.5 metres squared of rock in a row. For 2.5 hours, you'd be on this drill per shift, 6 days a week. So not much hearing protection. Most miners had industrial deafness, they couldn't hear much. The vibrations, you're holding on to this for 2.5 hours a shift. The vibrations are going to kill the nerves in your fingers and hands. You end up with white knuckle, you can't feel anything in your hands, but you still can use them. So there are health issues with this drill for the miners, but it's nowhere near as bad as dying at 33 years old from silicosis. Now, you can drill a hole with this without the water running through it, but then you're opening yourself up for silicosis again. And the miners who are working here are contract miners, and if the water runs out, they are going to keep drilling the holes. Okay, so because if the water runs out, so they were dealing with men with silicosis well into the 20th century because of that, and they're still dealing with people with silicosis now. Trainees don't like to use their PPE, so unfortunately those trainees are going to eventually die from silicosis now. So make sure you use your PPE. Yes. Any questions about machine drills?
So you drill 1.5 meters and then they blow it?
You would drill a blast pattern. So you would have to drill multiple holes in a pattern, 1.5 metres deep, 10 minutes a hole with a drifter. And then you would pack all of those holes full of explosives and blow it apart. And I'll cover that in the next stop for you.
Is there oil in the air that goes through?
There is. Oil's contained in the turtle down here. Miners are really good with names. It's round, so it looks like a turtle, so we call it a turtle. And it comes through with compressed air. You would have seen it coming out of here.
Yeah.
Like any machine, it loves oil. Makes it work a lot smoother. And it throws out a lot of oil as well. You can see the oil slick up here. If you used it for a good 2.5 hours a shift, it would create a lively mist in the area. You'd be breathing that into your lungs and you'd be coughing up chunks of oil after work. But it's not as bad as silicosis. So still a few lung issues. They were prone to pneumonia and stuff like that. Going from really humid environments underground and hot environments up to cold environments, big temperature changes, that sort of stuff. So yes, there's health issues with using a drill like this every day for 2.5 hours. Any other questions, or are we ready to go on with blowing stuff up?
How long does one of the drill bits last for? for us
It
to
really
be
depends
replaced.
what kind you're using, and they used a couple of different kinds in this mine when it was operational. If I can just sneak around here behind you. So your first kind that they were using here in the 1930s and 40s is a jack or a star bit, like that one, carbon steel. They do the job pretty well, but they are going to get blunt eventually. You would have an ore truck full of these, okay, just to go and collect them. You would have 3 different lengths of drill steels to drill one hole. Okay, you start with your small one, then you go to your intermediate one, and then you go to your long one to finish it off. And later on, when in the mine's life, after the 1940s, they moved on to tungsten carbide inserts, like this one. You can see the insert on the end there, hole in the back of the drill steel for the water to come out. They're much more efficient, drill holes quicker, last longer. But blacksmith's main role is to keep these drills in good nick and to get the drill steels nice and sharp for the miners to use. So he'd just be sending down trucks of these, and they just go and collect them as they needed to.
Yeah.
But these ones last longer. Okay, so they're the 2 that they used in this mine when it was a working gold mine. Later on, tungsten carbide button tips, got little teeth through the rock. Same deal, still got the hole in the back, the water to come through. So that's what we might use today. Okay, tungsten carbide button tip. There you go. We ready to go and have a look at blowing stuff up?
Yeah.
Cool. Hopefully you all like blowing stuff up. I do. Alright, let's go down this way. Watch your step from now on. It's going to get a bit more damp underfoot. Getting to a low point on the level. Round the corner to the right, folks. Okay, blokes coming to find a spot against the rough wall to the left.
There you go.
Facing towards the wall on the right. As you're coming in and finding a spot where you can see this wall on your right hand side, like we talked about before, couldn't just drill your holes anywhere, had to drill a special blast pattern. You've got 3 patterns on the wall in front of you here. Each one of these will blow out 1.5 metres to 2 metres squared of rock. That will throw out 15 to 20 tonne of rock for you every time. As a rule, in Bendigo our rock's really hard, so a crew of miners will blast out 1.5 metres squared per shift. That's going to throw out 15 tonne. So that's what I'm going to stick to when I'm talking to you about these today. We're going to start with the middle one. It's called the burn cut. And you all see that big hole right in the centre. That's called the central post hole. As big as you can see it on the outside here, it goes straight in 1.5 metres deep. It's where a rock is going to get blasted to. The explosions on the burn happen when the lights come on. 2 holes go off at once every half second, moving away from the weakness point in the middle and blowing the rock in towards it. Finally, down the bottom, we've got lifters to lift. They pick up all the broken rock and throw it out in a nice pole ready to get removed. You set those explosives off where those lights came on the burn without the hole in the middle. The rock's then got one option, to come straight out. And then you lose all the control over it. It becomes a lot more dangerous. Now, if you were a professional contract miner working in this mine in the 1950s, you always worked in a crew of 2 miners, and you're going to have 3 big jobs to get done for the shift. There are small important jobs throughout the shift as well, but I'm going to focus on the 3 biggest jobs. First big job is to remove 15 tonne of rock between 2 miners. Good crew will get that rock out of here in about 4 hours. Your next job is going to be to set up your drifter, the driller ran for you before, and you're going to be drilling your blast pattern, which would be in the old days the Bendigo drag, the one over in the corner there. Normally 15 holes to drill, but could be up to 20 like this pattern here. That depends on rock strength and structure. 1.5 metre deep drill holes, 10 minutes a hole with the drifter, so you're looking at least 2.5 hours on the drill per shift per crew. That's your second big job, drill your holes. Your last job of the day is done in the last half hour. Rig it up with explosives and blow it apart. You can only blast in the last half hour, it's a set rule. If you've got different crews blasting at all different times, it just opens yourself up for accidents to happen. People walking into areas that are about to blow up and getting killed, okay? So we're going to rig these holes up with explosives. Let's start in the early days, 1850s. Anyone got any ideas or anyone know what they were using to blow rock apart in those days? Nitroglycerin. Yeah. TNT, we're not in the German military. C4, we're going forward. We want to go backwards.
So black powder or?
Black powder, there you go. Black powder and gunpowder. Have we ever, all of you heard of that? Yeah. Black powder is an early version of gunpowder. But that's what they were using in the 1850s to blow rock apart. gunpowder, black powder, hard to control. Lots of accidents, lots of deaths. It's what they had, so it's what they use. Now, there are some stories about American mining companies attempting to use straight nitroglycerin to blow rock apart. It did not go well. Straight nitroglycerin will blow up whenever you move it, okay? Countries actually had laws about even transporting it. It was that dangerous. The companies that are trying to use it, it blew up before they even got it to the mine, okay, and killed them. So that didn't go well. They did discover TNT in the 1860s, but German chemists discovered it in the 1860s, but they didn't know it was any good for blowing stuff up, so they used it as a yellow dye for 30 years, okay? So no TNT. After the 1890s, the German military got their hands on it, started putting it inside their shells. Their shells would go internally into opposition tanks or big ships and blow up internally, because TNT takes ages to get going. Cause a lot more damage. The British at the same time are using lyddite in their shells. What explodes on contact, doesn't create as much damage. British go, what are the Germans doing here? It's working well for them. They copy them, then the Americans copy the British. TNT is used in warfare, okay? German military. We're not going to go into the naughty stuff that the German military did, all right? That's for another tour somewhere else. No TNT, I'm really sorry, my travels. Now, has everyone heard of Alfred Nobel? Nobel Peace Prize, that Alfred. He was Swedish. His family owned a munitions factory in Sweden. He killed his brother-in-law, attempting to experiment with straight nitroglycerin. He felt pretty bad, as you would, I suppose, unless you got a really nasty brother-in-law. And he made it his mission to make straight nitroglycerin usable as an explosive. So he started mixing things in with straight nitroglycerin. Sawdust, for example, was one of the things he was mixing in with it. And he had some success, and he invented dynamite in 1867. Big step forward, more powerful, more controlled than gunpowder. Still had a tendency to go off in your hand if you shook it too much. If you accidentally drop it on the floor in front of you, it will explode at your feet and blow your legs off. So, still has stability issues, but more powerful than gunpowder, more stable than gunpowder, so they started to use dynamite from 1867. Up until 1875, Alfred's kept working on the formula. He's not totally happy with dynamite. He wants to make it more safer and more stronger. So he keeps mixing things in, and eventually Alfred invented gelignite in 1875. Has everyone heard of gelignite? It's a new version of dynamite, new improved version. Goes off with more power, doesn't go off in your hand if you shake it too much. Goes off when we want it to. Have to give it an explosive kick to get going, but once it goes off with a lot of power. So they were still using gelignite here in the 1940s and 50s. So we're going to rig these holes up with jelly. Each hole, 1.5 metres deep, will take 4 sticks in it. First 3 sticks we put into the hole by hand, one after the other. Last one to go in is called a primer. You need 3 things for a primer. Stick of jelly, like the one up the top there. You need a 2 metre long safety fuse. Safety fuse has gunpowder inside it to keep it burning once you light it. And you need a dep, or a detonator. It's on the end there. A detonator is like a cap from a cap gun, but with much more gunpowder in it. Goes off with a bigger bang, okay? First thing we do is we get our detonator, put it on the end of our safety fuse and crimp it in place with a pair of tongs, get it nice and secure on the end. We then make a hole in the end of a gelignite stick with a sharp piece of wood. Gelignite's like a hard, stiff putty, so it's not too hard to make the hole in there. And then we get the end of our safety fuse with the detonator attached, put it into the hole, and then tighten up the gelignite around it with the thumb and forefinger. That's what we call a primer. Primer goes in the hole last, pack everything into the hole nice and snug with a long thin wooden stick known as a tamping stick, and then hang your safety fuse out of the hole. Once you've got one hole done, do the rest of them. Once you've got them all done, you need to trim the fuses to different lengths to achieve a sequence that you want in the blast pattern. Trim the inch off the end of the line to the blast by half a second. You want 2 holes going off every half second with the burn, and you want the lines and holes going off every half second with the drag over there. So they work the same way. It's just the burn's a more modern, refined version of the drag. Now, once you've trimmed your fuses, you grab them all together, you light them up at the same time with that gas lamp I showed you in the crib room, you put them on the ground, you walk away. You've got 5 minutes to get to safety, minimum of 60 metres away and around a corner, but in this mine you're required to go to a plat to give a warning with the bells to everyone else in the mine that you're blasting, what level you're blasting on. And then you wait at the plat, underground. You've got to count these going off, make sure they go off according to plan. Promise I'm not going to blow you up today. Watch the burn code, will have some sound effects. I normally find most people don't need to block their ears here, but in the end it's up to you. Are we all ready? Yes? 3, 2, 1. be counting them, you wouldn't be listening for them. You'd be feeling percussion hits coming through you at the plat. All the miners who work here are professional, experienced miners. They can tell by the strength of your hits coming through them as to whether they go off according to plan or not. If they do go off according to plan, finish your shift, go to the surface, get strip search checked, and then leave. If they don't all go off according to plan, you've had misfires, and that happens sometimes. Before you leave, same thing applies, get strip searched, all that stuff. Before you leave, you tell the boss you've had misfires. He says, okay, see you tomorrow. And he will tell the next crew of miners coming down to remove that rock, whether it's you the next day or some other crew, that there's live explosives in the pile of rock they have to move. If they hit a detonator and a primer with a shovel, it's going to be a chain reaction. If you've got 4 or 6 of gelignite going off at your feet, I think you're all smart enough to figure out what happens to you. There you go, there's blasting. Any questions?
What were the shifts? Are those a 24-hour mine or just day shift? Or
A miner, a contract miner, would work an 8-hour shift. Morning shift started at 7 a.m. and went till 3 p.m. And then the afternoon shift, which is also a working shift, miners underground working, 3 p.m. till 11 p.m. at night.
Yeah.
The night shift, 11 p.m. till 7 a.m. They don't have miners underground working, but they do have miners on site up on the surface, bailing the water out from the bottom of the mine shaft. That over 8 hours of them doing that, that will control the water level in the elements. So there are people here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The miners, the contract miners, did not work on Sundays. A lot of them are religious, they rest, that sort of thing. But they've still got people on site because that's when they clean out the batteries to melt down the gold to sell it. Okay?
Yeah.
So, working shifts, morning and arvo. Okay? Any other questions? Yeah?
When you actually done all that blasting, so it's where the white lines are, and
Yeah, pretty much.
about 1.5 meters, do you?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, so 1.5 meters squared, like we said.
Okay.
1.5 meters wide, 1.5 meters high, 1.5 meters deep. Is on in general as to what a crew would blast out. There could be some extra rock come out if you're in sand country, where that rock's broke, where it's a bit weaker. You might have a bit of extra rock come out from above if it's loose, but that's normally going to throw you out 15 tonnes. Everyone will be blasting out the same amount, pretty much.
How far apart is each crew?
You could have 3 crews right next to each other. Okay? If we're on that big stope, 15 metre wide by 15 metre high, you know, 1.5 metres, 1.5 metres, 1.5 metres, so that's what, 4.5 metres, 3 crews. You could have 5 crews in a row. 6, 7. It's really how much gold's in that quartz reef and how we're blowing it out, just moving along. So, like I said, with the drills, in this situation, you would have 3 drills working right next to each other in an enclosed area, a lot of noise.
Are they still using the same type of explosive? Or
Modern safety fuses, timers, debts, you press a button up the top, a light comes on telling you that it all went well.
Yeah.
You're not underground when you're blasting these days. Power gels, you know, as we move forward, explosives get safer and more control. As you move back, less control, less safety, more deaths, more injuries.
Yeah.
So much better stuff these days.
and with the modern explosives, do they still kind of use the same type of patterns of a rock?
No, it's all
or
different now. It's all done totally differently now. You'll be in a jumbo drill, and you'll be sitting in a cab with computer screens in front of you. You've got mechanical arms coming out, drilling holes and putting explosives in there, and they cost millions.
Yeah.
If you're interested in those, have a look up on Google after the tour. Jumbo drills are what most decline mines in Victoria use, but there's still uses for combo air legs like we use here in modern mining as well. So much smaller scale drills. Yep.
So do a lot of the know-how get brought over by experienced miners, so from Commonwealth?
By this stage, where this mine's operating, there are no Cornish miners working here. If you want to go further back, I'm not going to focus on Cornishmen because there was a big mixing pot of cultures. Okay, so Cornishmen were known for being really experienced miners because mining tin and copper in Cornwall for hundreds of years. A lot of terminology in this kind of mining comes from them. They were encouraged to come over, but Welsh miners came over. A lot of Northern European countries are great miners, Germans, Swedes, Norwegians. You know, my family came over from Holland. My family worked in these mines. Okay, so they're Dutch, Italian, French. It's just a big mixing pot of culture. I can tell you from the names of the men who worked here, not all of them were Cornish. A lot of them were German, or had been, or their grandparents might have emigrated the gold rush, and then they've been working in the mines, and you know, so the guys who are working here are the ancestors of the original rush miners. But there was a lot of Cornishmen working in Bendigo especially, but in these kind of mines, they were very good miners. But there were Chinese owners who owned mines like this and only employed Chinese hard rock miners. Not many people realise that. People say, oh, Chinese miners didn't work in these kind of mines because they work in the alluvial mines and they have round mine shafts to scare away the spirits because spirits can't hide in the corner. Round mine shafts don't fall in on you. You know, there's a lot of stuff that's been talked about in the past, but Cornish miners are really, really good miners, don't get me wrong. But I'm one of the people who probably spreads it out a little bit between all the miners. I want to talk about the Germans and the Norwegians and the American miners who came from the 49 gold rush, you know. But yeah, they're really good miners, Cornishmen. But not every miner was Cornish. That's just the way it worked out.
The driving miners brought their experience.
Yeah, they did. And the Welsh coal miners brought their experience and the German hard rock miners brought theirs. And this is what I mean. It's a big mix. The Cornishmen were very, very good quality miners. I'm not going to say they weren't because they were. Real short guys, real stocky guys, real strong guys. See, most of us will be too tall to be miners in the old days. You little miners over there would be right. Someone like my height, I'd be considered too tall in the old days to be a miner. So, yeah. These days we get much taller, better nutrition, all that sort of stuff. We better keep going.
Yeah.
But come down this way, one more stop and then I'll take you back up, okay? Watch your head in here, if you're a bit taller, the roof gets a bit lower. Okay, find a spot where you can see the yellow machine. You don't have to be right on the rough wall here. Especially a taller miners, if you do that, you'll be crunching your neck around. So, okay, let's say previous shift had the perfect blast. And two miners come down, start their shift, and their first big job is to remove 15 tonne of rock. Now they didn't have any misfires in the last shift, so a nice pile there. 2/10 of that pile of rock, 15 tonne, is going to be bigger pieces, no bigger than the size of your head, so we're going to pick them up with our hands, and we're going to throw them in your truck. The other 8/10 of that 15 tonne of rock are going to be small, fine pieces of shattered rock. The gentleman's really done the job for us. Pick up the banjo shovels, scrape up that rock, and throw it in your truck. Your truck there holds half a tonne or 500 kilos. Two quality contract miners have filled that up in 10 minutes by hand. If they've got 15 tonne, they've got 30 of them to do. High chance they might have to push them out as well. So, over 100,000 tonne of material was removed from this mine by hand. Every single piece was loaded up into an ore truck like that one by hand, and every single truck was pushed out by a man. There are no horses down here before I get the pig pony questions. How are we going to get a horse down here?
Drop straight down the mine shaft.
You've seen how small those compartments are?
Oh, I'm basically on Daydream Mine because they lifted them straight down and the horses.
Yeah, it's not going to happen in Bendigo.
Yeah.
Okay, you would have to cut it up into 3 pieces to get it down here, and then it's no use. In Victoria, in some situations, when you've got an adit, which is an entry point straight into the side, just cuts into the hill, you could lead a horse in and lead it out at the end of the day. There were no animals living underground in mines like this in Victoria. It just didn't happen. Okay. Some mines, though, have machines like this one. This is a rock shovel. These first came out in 1938, patented by IMCO, an American company based in Salt Lake City in Utah. IMCO still make worldwide versions of this machine to this day. But it's a much quicker way of doing it. You've got a big bucket at the front, run off compressed air. Here's your line. And you've got 2 handles on the side. One handle controls it backwards and forwards on the rails. It needs rails to operate. The other handle controls the big bucket at the front going up and over and going down. 4 full buckets into the truck behind it, push it out. Done. 1.5 minutes, done. Much quicker way of doing it, but they never used them in this mine because they were too expensive. They did it by hand here. Okay? So you're on machine miners now. You're ready to go to work next week. $3,500 to $4,000 a week. Imagine all the Xbox games you could buy with that, all PlayStations. You might buy your parents a present, maybe. I don't know. You get to blow stuff up every day. Sounds fun, doesn't it? If you're really sneaky, miners are known for stealing explosives and blowing stuff up at home. Yes, one of those fits perfectly in a lift. Just push it in, up it goes. Something like this, you're going to have to take apart and reassemble. Okay, it has to come down in a cage. You can hang things underneath the cage, but If it comes down and gets jammed up in that shaft, you're going to have to redo your timbering, and that is not a very nice job, and it's a real dangerous job. So you're going to have to be pretty careful taking these things down. Once they're on a level, until they're finished on the level, they will stay on the level. Yeah, mate?
Will that vary depending on how much rock they excavate?
Yeah, we talked about that before, didn't we? Depends on how far you've gone in the waste, or how many ore trucks you fill up with quartz. But your big money was made at the quartz reef. That's where you're going to make most of your money. Okay? All good?
You say you prove the law having this why you're cleaning up their waste.
Yeah, every miner who works here knew how to deal with this one. It's part of their job. And I've mentioned a few times before, all the miners who work here, professionals, at least 5 years mining experience, most of them have 10. So it's part of their job, they have to know how to deal with it. As you go further back in time, like let's go into the 19th century, it becomes more niche jobs. So a miner might just start moving rock, and he might work his way up to operating a drill, get paid really well for that, or he might go into blasting, and he's the one who set all the explosives and stuff like that. When this mine's operational, you do everything. Now, dealing with misfires isn't as bad as it sounds. Most of the time it's going to be a problem with the fuse. Let's say it's defective or it's broken, hasn't burnt all the way through. If it burns into the deck, it's going off. Okay? So let's say we've got a metre left of the fuse, and it's a 2 metre long fuse. We're going to see that first. It's going to be pretty easy to find. Then you just track it back, get the detonator out. Detonator's true. You get the detonator out, all safe again. Okay? So that's normally how they deal with misfires. But a miner who works here knew how to do it. They're high-end professionals. That's why they get paid so much. Good questions.
So who decided on what direction? Do they just follow the quartz, keep going until it runs out?
All of our quartz reefs run north-south. Our reefs are easy to find. We talked about the lines of reef. So they're not just coming down here and going, oh, which way do I go? It's all planned out. They know exactly where the line of reef is. As a miner, you can look at the rocks. The rocks tell you where to go. You look at the cuts. If your cuts are leaning over there, it's pointing you in towards centre country. It's where our quartz reef is, where the biggest part of it is. If your rocks are going straight up and down, you're right in the middle. You're right in centre country. If you've got lava intrusions coming through in Bendigo, you're in centre country. So we can read the rock. The rock tells us where to go. But remember, high-end professionals, they know how to read the rock. They're not just going any which way. All of our reefs are uniform, one on top of the other. So sink a shaft, cross-cut into centre country, drive north or south, find the reef, assess as to how much gold is in it, whether it's above that 10 grams of gold per tonne or not. If it's not, leave it. Go down and try another one. If it is, start mining it out, start stoping it out. Big area that you take the quartz out to crush up to get the gold out of it. The area left is called a stope. We better go back up. I think we've run out of time. Come down this way, watch your step. Oh no, you've got 2 minutes worth of free stuff already. So just follow your nose, folks. There's no wrong turns now. Lift's just up around the corner. Another group's just about to come down in the lift. They're going to get out of our way when they come out, and then we'll just sneak in when they're out of the way, okay? So not too long. They'll be down here in a minute and a half.
Was the mine always like a circle, or did the developer?
It's been done for tourism.
Oh, okay.
So normally, like I said, you cross cut off the shaft, and you drive north or south, and then you stope if it's payable. So every other level of this mine is like a big L shape, one on top of the other, all the way down normally.
Yeah.
You can have winzes in between stopes. Winz is like a shaft or a rise, but it doesn't go to the surface. So in between different levels. Sometimes you can make one of those to throw your rock down, makes it easier to move it if you've got it all pass, that sort of stuff. So a lot of different options.
Did they have multiple levels working at one time as well?
Not
or?
really. You would. Alright, I'll give you an example. When this mine was its busiest, it had 10 crews. Okay?
Yeah.
7 of those crews would have been focused on one payable reef, making money, making profit. We might have another 2 crews doing exploratory work on different levels, like was happening on this level in the 1940s.
Yeah.
But they never got to the reef like we talked about, and then you have another crew down the bottom of the shaft sinking the shaft to make it deeper so that you've got access to more reefs in the future. You always want to have a reef to go to as soon as you finish your first one, your payable one, because you want to keep having profit coming in, keep the investors happy, all that sort of stuff. All right, if you just wait there for me, folks.
Righto, my crew, watch the step. If you come out, follow me out this way.
My group, we all ready to go in?
Yeah.
Watch your step when you go into the lift. Once you're in the lift, not now, once you're inside the lift, you can turn your lights off with the red button on top. I want you to be able to see the step up if there's one there, okay?
Okay.
Oh.
All right, we all ready, my group?
Yep.
Let's go. What's out here to go? 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Very good. Didn't lose anyone. Never lose anyone. Alright, same rules on the way up as on the way down. I'm going to have to have access to my controller just here behind this, so I'm going to get up and around. Beautiful. That's enough. Here we go. So you can all say you've been 65 metres underground now and do a hard rock course line. That'll look right. Good. Yes. It's alright, keep close. Get the rope down, I'll be fine. Another guy's different story. It's like a machine. It's all machines right now. But even if it did break down, it just stopped. And then I just drop it down on the handbrake and we go out through the shaft. Either way, I'll get you out, I promise. Pretty much every reef in Australia, they're running all south. So where the pressure's coming from, the pressure's coming to the east and the west, so the reefs are all the south, that's the coast. So Western Australia's reefs are all south. Alright, when we get up to the top, it's going to be a bit of a jump and stop. So you want to get close. Here we come, you ready?
How why it dropped so much at the start.
Thank you for keeping your helmets on at all times, for your ropes, while you're underground, and it makes my life easier if you're not taking them on and off, because I don't like giving people warnings and I don't like kicking people off the top. Okay, so don't forget any hats or anything you left hang up on the hooks. Feel free to go and grab them. But if you don't have any of that, come down this way. You've got a hand out. You can throw it in the bin on the left as they come out. We'll go and finish off.
Thank you, guys.